So basic tips on press interviews. Like I'll tell you, on Wednesday, I've got a 2-hour meeting with 2 journalists from the Wall Street Journal. So last night I was up late, and I have a little tablet here, and I've been working on, I was just looking for it just to show you, but I can assure you, I have basically a tablet like this that I'm keeping, I think it's in my purse, and I've been writing down all the documents and all the research that I think the Wall Street Journal might be interested in talking to me about the secular movement and secular coalition for America. So the most important thing is, when you have a press opportunity, would be to get ready. And then to know the rules. So when I meet with them, they're going to, basically I'm going to say, this is on the record, and they'll be recording, and anything and everything I say, they can print it. Or I can say, this is just on background. Maybe when I'm talking to them about meetings with certain senators or congressmen, I don't want to be out saying negative things about senators or congressmen. Even if we are not getting along nicely with them right now, we want to win them over in the future, then I would want to go on background. So the very important thing there would be, as long as you say, this is not for attribution, or this is on background. If it's on background, they can just generally know the information, but they didn't get it from you, and they can't quote you or anything. So just pretty much follow those rules. On the record means direct quotes, and everything is open. So the most important thing would be to basically get ready. And so what we're pointing out here on the next page is that, so I'm going to put together an agenda. I'm going to they're going to come over to our office. They want to see the secular war room. They want to come into the conference room. They want to know all about the secular movement. Of course, I'm going to have to go over the demographics with them. And they want to know all the issues that we're working on. They want to know about the 50 states. So I'm going to have the agenda already laid out. I'm going to have the documents laid out. I'm going to try to control the interview. And then, but occasionally, they'll probably ask me something that I don't know the answer to. And this happens all the time with press. Or they might say, what are the names of all the coalitions that you're in? And I know that we're in 10, and I can sit there, at that second and maybe name 8, but I couldn't think of the other 2. So I'm making a note that I owe them the other 2. And then later I send them an email with the other 2, and they're like, wow, this group's on the ball, very professional. How did she remember that she owed me those 2? I'm very impressed. It's the same with staffers in the House and the Senate. They'll ask me for additional information. They get their thank you email from me. They get the additional information. And then they're very impressed, and they know that they can trust you. And then the other really important thing is, when they're trying to get something controversial out of you, they have this trick where they ask you a question, and then you answer it in the most positive way, and that's your answer. And then they do this really awkward thing where they just kind of... And then, and you feel kind of obligated because it's awkward, because there's this silence to keep talking. And so that's the trick that they do to you. And so you just have to...
Do it back to them.
You're done.
Got the eyelash.
Yeah, exactly. Got the eyelashes. So they'll do that for sure. And of course, they're looking for controversy, and we don't need it. And we are the diplomats. The Secular Coalition for California. You are the diplomats. You are not firebrand atheists. You're not we hate the Jesus people. Oh, we're going to throw rocks, or it's we're up here taking the high road, like everybody, very professional when you're wearing your Secular Coalition for California hat. Sometimes I think about, probably some of you are old enough to remember, but in Iraq, when there was the war and there was everything with Hussein, and they had this very professional lady spokesperson over at the State Department, and then she would just go out there, just like she's talking about the weather and everything's great, and sort of give this nice statement. So it's sort of like being on Jon Stewart or being on Colbert. You ask a ridiculous question and you give an answer just like it wasn't a ridiculous question, that it was just just sort of a normal question and you give a professional answer, and it might not even be on point. It might be a statement that you want to get across, but it didn't answer their question.
Okay.
And so that's a lot of times, like in the correspondence with the legislatures, they'll send back a non-answer, but it's polite and it's professional. Yeah.
Very professional.
Yes, but you have to learn to do that also with the press. So those are the really basic tips there. So TV, radio, that's important also. And we get opportunities. We can do press releases. It's good for you to have somebody on the executive committee who's kind of the spokesperson that will talk to the press, try to identify someone like that. If not, the co-chairs can do it. But when you go in there, it's usually the best thing to do would be to be kind of totally briefed up on the issue that they want to talk about, but also have looked at all the papers and generally know what's going on, because it might be that they try to, the governor just gave a speech today, and what do you think about, they might throw something else in there, just sort of generally. So I would recommend that you be, just kind of read the major papers that day if you're going to be doing some TV or radio, because they're always trying to work it into current events. So it would be really helpful to know our issues, the issue they want to talk about, but then how it fits into the bigger picture in current events. Because like if they're coming from one news story into your news story, they might try to weave them together a little bit. And sometimes that throws people off. Oh, well, I thought we were only going to talk about this one thing. And if they kind of like double up and put a little bit of another issue on you, sometimes people, they're not, so flat-footed when it comes to that. So that would be my big warning there. And be really prepared. I remember I would go in really prepared. Other people, would not be. And the shouting match was very much in my favor. And then, of course, it's all really for show, because then we would all go have a beer, and it was fun. It was good fun, yeah. And so, even I would usually be up with someone on the Democratic side, and they were usually my friend. Usually our kids went to school together, and then we would go and have a beer. So people think that the two parties and people in Washington are not getting along, but they really are. A lot of times, on a personal basis, they are. And the radio is pretty much the same. Just be prepared. Be on time. Have your talking points right in front of you. Sometimes, with TV, like I'll have like a little card, because when the camera's not on you. You can see. And also there are TV, there are commercial breaks, and you can like refresh yourself on your notes. Sometimes I'll even write it on my hands or my arm if I had some major points I wanted to make, because it's going so quickly and you're under such stress. Maybe there are 5 major points, and I might just write the 5 major points here, like on my hands. I mean, nobody can see my hands, especially if you're in the little box and you're being brought in. Letters to the editor here. We've got details on how to get them done, how to get them printed. We've had tremendous success getting letters to the editor printed for other state chapters when there's a hot issue. And like I mentioned, many times there's not an opposition group. And so the fact that we're now here on a lot of the issues that we care about, there's not anyone with our voice. So the press or the legislative body or the governor's office, they want to appear to be listening from both sides on an issue. And it's our fault that we haven't been there, that we didn't have the model secular guide, and so now we're there. We have a fabulous communications director. We can help write, we can do first drafts, we can give advice, or we can just not be included. It's not like you need our permission. If you need help drafting, we have a professional communications manager who used to work with the Wall Street Journal and worked with the Washington Post, who can, crank out a letter to the editor in 15, 20 minutes, because she's a professional writer, and could get it to a state chapter if that chapter needed it. So think of us as your back office. Our main materials are, we have the daily read. Looks like this is a little cup of coffee, a little orange cup of coffee, and it has just 6, 7 most important articles for the day. It's in your inbox every morning. And then we also have our Friday little short executive summary wrap up for the whole secular movement. Of course, it might mention something positive about Secular Coalition for America. I mean, sometimes we have to be a little bit selfish and mention us, but we're always trying to look after the whole movement and all the other groups. And so that's on Friday. And then the most important thing is every Thursday where we have this phone call. So if you happen to have 30 minutes on Thursday from 9 in the morning to 9:30, and if you could grab this call and just listen, you can speak up if you want. I would highly recommend that. It's right on our homepage. All of these things are on our homepage. You can easily sign up for them if you're in our database. We have fabulous lobby day materials. When we're a little bit more mature, we'll round up some people. We'll go to Sacramento. We'll do a lobby day, go meet with 10 senators, maybe 20 over in the House. And we have the type of materials we put together. We have detailed information on who are the religiously unaffiliated voters. This is really good, the demographics, to educate the staff members. We show how the people are very wealthy and wise and they're model citizens. We have all that research showing that they're just, super people that you want to have as your constituents. We even have a little glossary here of all the different non-believer terms, and we have it all compact on this little handout. So this could be your briefing when you go in and meet with people in the governor's office or you meet with people.
That's on your website?
That's on our website too, but this is sort of a really good piece of, we packed everything in here that you would need to know about our movement. So the non-affiliated and how they're growing, what their numbers are, with all the footnotes of the Pew polls and other polls, and their role, what their opinions are in politics, what percentage are conservative or liberal, Republican, Democratic, what their social views are, their fiscal views are, and we also talk about, kind of generally what they think about their elected officials and how much they should rely on religion. So it's all in here. This is a really compact document. We have a sample letter that after you meet with somebody in the House and the Senate, you can send this letter back via email, which is fine. And the how-to lobbying, and then when we do a lobby day, we usually have like a little map, and we have with all the House and Senate buildings and where to go, and we give them a little itinerary, how to get around if there's some kind of public transportation. And then we usually pick 2 or 3 topics, like we did our lobby day in April, and we were all over tax reform, because that's what's moving, and school vouchers. And then we had how everybody voted on those issues. So when they went into an office, they could see if the person was voting the way they liked, then they could thank them, or they were voting not the way we wanted, and they could try to persuade them. And then we have sort of an ask, like a leave behind, what Congress, what the legislature can do. And so we have 3 questions here, for example, specifically including non-theists and those without religion when talking about or listening to different groups of people, when, like, for example, when the elected official is giving a speech, and they might say, Christians, Muslims, or Jews, and, non-believers, just things like that, being inclusive. Stopping the sponsorship and support of legislation and resolutions that are solely based on religious dogma and are for religious supporters. And then inviting non-theist groups to constituent meetings and town halls to ensure balanced representation. So we have leave behinds for ask. So we have all the materials and more than you could ever dream of. So you don't have to worry about, really kind of drafting anything. Just contact us. And we have 2 staff people that are really looking after the states, and myself also. And I try to get on as many calls as I can. If you want me on a particular call, just shoot me an email and say, I want you on our call. I want you to talk about this. I just want you listening. That's fine. I can get on your call. Thank you.